a young boy finds his sister changing clothes on the live stream, though she isn't aware of it. We will get back to see whether he made it in time. After finishing writing a volume for his light novel, Masamune Izumi recalls how he met his younger stepsister. Out of the blue, like the winter snow, her father introduced his younger sister to her, but their interaction didn't last long. Like morning dew, her eyes gave an aura of purity, and Izumi was instantly drawn to it. However, ever since that, she has shut herself in her room, refusing to talk to anyone, including her brother, though Izumi is still a caring brother and provides everything she needs. At the school, Izumi reveals how he did autographs of his fans at a convention, but considering how bad his handwriting is, most made fun of him. His friend informs him that even the artist who draws covers for him criticized it in their recent blog, putting a massive shame on his face. She is curious about the artist, but Izumi informs her that neither he nor his editor ever met this person and the entire work is done through the internet. Nonetheless, even he is curious about their identity and wants to know them. He is fortunate as the artist has a live stream planned and he believes he will get an opportunity to ask him some questions. As he rushes off home to prepare lunch for his sister, the other is too impatient and wants everything done quickly. Before he gives her the lunch, Izumi attaches a note to let her know how much her brother misses her and how incredible it would be for her to leave the room for once. Regardless, he feels it will be useless all the same. As the live stream starts, the artist doesn't like the nickname they are given, Iromanga Sensei. Rather, her fans have forced this on her. Izumi is watching the stream peacefully when his eyes catch the sight of the same lunch he prepared, and even the note is there. The stream time is up and the other forgets to turn it off while she is about to change clothes. This is a complete devastation and he rushes off to inform his sister about the stream, though she manages to turn it off before much could have been revealed, and he promptly asks her whether she is Iromanga Sensei. Even though he knew she was, Izumi just wanted an answer. For the first time in a year, he gets to see her face, but she shoves him outside before he can have a proper chat with her. The following day, he heads to meet up with his editor, burdening her with reviewing another series he has started working on. I Am Kagurazaka is tired from her previous works and instructs him to only give him enough manuscripts that can be summarized in a few seconds. Before he could leave, she gave him an illustration of the series that he just finished writing, and the artist was none other than Sajiri, his sister. Izumi rushes off to his home, and as she isn't opening the room immediately, he reveals that he is the author of her favorite series. Sajiri opens her door and after hearing his reasoning, she invites him inside. This is the first time he has entered her room in a long while, and he is amazed at how well she has taken care of it. Sajiri inquires about how he managed to find her real identity, and he responds that her meal gave it away. Furthermore, he apologizes for making her draw lewd art, as he thought the illustrator was a professional, and must be an adult or close to one. The reason Sajiri picked up drawing as a hobby is that she used to watch a random artist's stream whenever she was bored, and the way she interacted with her fans made her aspire to become one. Izumi also feels the same. Back then, he would spend countless hours surfing the web and reading other people's novels. Though when he reveals that he had to pull all-nighters to come up with decent stories just so they could be accepted, she is infuriated as this would cause her meals to delay. A slave should remain a slave. She is curious why he would never leave her even after all this time of her continuing being a nuance. But Izumi feels that family should be there for each other. Hearing this, she is amazed as she never saw it that way, and even now, she can hardly feel the connection between the two. As she is embarrassed by her naive thinking, she wants some time alone, and before he can leave, Izumi thanks her for the illustration. Sajiri's classmate, Megumi Jino, knocks on their door and starts teasing Izumi. However, she is bewildered to find that the other isn't even remotely interested in her. She often succeeds in flirting with others. Megumi wants Sajiri to come out of her room and start getting back to school as she is the only one in their class who isn't her friend. As an enthusiastic and social student, Megumi feels she should know everyone. Izumi heads off to his sister's room to let her know about her classmate, and the other wants to avoid her at all costs, as she is too annoying. Though, she secretly orders Izumi around on how to talk to the others. As Megumi believes the internet is to be blamed for all evil, she advises Izumi to cut off the connection as it would restore her extroverted self and she will start making new friends, as well as going to school. Izumi is outraged at hearing this as the internet is the reason why they can continue working from their home. Megumi finds out that the two are secretly on a call with each other, but as soon as she tries, Sajiri hangs up, or so she does according to Izumi. Megumi still has her on call and tries asking her brother all about her. Izumi starts describing all her good qualities, and her inspiration to become a famous lewd author is something that drives him to produce good writing material. Later that night, Izumi received a call from his editor, informing him how trashy his manuscript was, and that if he didn't turn in another project in time, he would be dismissed. Izumi already knew his proposed works weren't that good and he rushed them, so he got back to work once again. The following day, his friend, Tomo, informs him about the volumes in their store, and he heads there to sort them out. Since none of his work is selling so far, he tries to put them in the recommendation list, but Tomo stops him from doing so as it is cheating. Oh well, back to grinding, buddy. Afterward, he heads off to meet his editor, and is surprised to find that a girl is causing a ruckus there. The author of the current best-selling light novel demands that I contact Zero Manga Sensei, and creates an illustration for her series, raising her popularity. In exchange, she offers to work for the company. However, I already has her hands filled with Izumi and she turns her down. Elf Yamada is enraged that the others wouldn't allow her to work with the popular artists and leaves. Izumi feels disappointed that such a young girl is doing so much better than him and assures that he will start working hard. As he gets back home, Izumi is in dismay that Sajiri will abandon him and start working for another writer. After he confronts her about it, the other doesn't reveal much of her plans but does instruct him to not wash her underwear from now on, as she will be the one cleaning them. Hearing this, Izumi is assured that she has abandoned him, and a black curtain is veiled over his gloomy face, with no hope left. Izumi and Sajiri wake up to the sounds of her classmates trying to lure her out. Megumi has devised a new plan to get her back to school, but Izumi tells the others off as it will worsen his sister's trauma. Megumi realizes her mistake and dismisses the plan. Before she left, she handed him a circular profile and wondered why it was lying outside the gate. Izumi reveals that their area is considered haunted, and no outsider wishes to step inside. The rumor started with their neighborhood house as someone prolific once lived there, but after they left, people saw a ghost lingering around. Suddenly, Megumi spots a shadow there, but Izumi assures her that it must have been her imagination. After checking up on Sajiri, Izumi realizes that Megumi wasn't the only one who saw something in the house and starts hearing a piano. To make sure this isn't a ghost, he heads off inside to check it out. Before he opens the door, he sneakily peeks inside the mansion and is astonished to find Yamada Elf playing piano nakedly. He quickly rings the bell and informs her about his arrival, embarrassing the other one. To participate in meetings for the production of her anime, she has purchased this house as it will be easy to practice here. As for playing the piano nakedly, she feels more comfortable doing the things she loves while having no clothes on. After being irritated and constantly looked down on by her, Izumi challenges her to let Manga Sensei give her verdict on their novels. Afterward, he gets back to his home to assure Sajiri that no ghost lingers around there. Suddenly, the other starts annoying them and Sajiri is irritated that her brother stared at a random naked girl. As a glimpse of disgust wraps her face, she commands him to get out of her room. Izumi informs Tomo about his awaiting challenge, only to be made fun of by her. After getting back from school, he finds Yamada waiting for him, and she is keen on showing her studio to him. As she has just moved into all her works, she wants him to choose anything he wants, and he reveals that he is a huge fan of one of her works. Afterward, Yamada reveals that she wants to disclose the identity of Manga Sensei, and has almost pinpointed her location accurately. As she finds Sajiri drawing through the window, Izumi reveals to her that she is a passionate artist but not at a high level, hiding her identity. However, Yamada feels that if Manga Sensei wasn't around, she would have gladly worked with his sister. The two get into an argument as Izumi feels she should be working more often while Yamada believes that work can only be done when someone is motivated. Sajiri witnesses this and is horrified that her brother got slapped so hard. Before Izumi can leave, the other reveals that she will be working tomorrow. The following day, as he enters her studio, he is amazed at how well prepared the other is for work. As she had promised him to show he does her work, Izumi thought he would get to see her writing the novel. However, the other tells him that writing is just a hobby, while cooking is work. After trying it out, Izumi is impressed with her culinary skills, and Yamada gives him some so Sajiri can also try it out. After entering her room, the other reveals she saw him going along so well with the neighbor, and was lying earlier when he said he didn't know her much. Izumi quickly comes up with various excuses, and to change the subject, he asks his sister about her attachment to small-breasted heroines. After she reveals that she hasn't seen big breasts in real life, Izumi is concerned as he now realizes that the other uses herself as an inspiration for her drawings. Nonetheless, he isn't about to judge his sister and assures her that he will support her. Sajiri wants to know why he was there with the neighbor, but he doesn't want to reveal her identity, fearing that he will be abandoned. As he is about to leave, he resolves to write a novel about his younger sister, prompting the other to kick him out. For the next couple of weeks, he sacrifices all his time for the novel, and upon completion, he heads to Yamada's house to compare them. After reading her novel, he realizes that the other is trying her best to lure Romanga-sensei to her side. On the other hand, Yamada feels emotional after reading his manuscript and believes that her other work doesn't even compare to it, as his work is too emotional and only written for a certain person. While Izumi's work is better, Yamada still believes that her work will sell more as it is directed toward a more diverse audience. After admitting her defeat and giving up on working with Iromanga-sensei for now, Yamada allows the other to work with the illustrator. Furthermore, just from reading the manuscript, Yamada has figured out the identity of Iromanga. Izumi swears to show his work to Sajiri and jumps into her room from Yamada's window since his sister won't open her door. There, he reveals his work and tells the other one to give it a try. Before she does that, Sajiri reveals that the reason she didn't talk to him for a few days was that she was researching various weapons for his new series. Izumi is amazed that her art has improved so far, and she can now draw big-breasted girls. She was afraid that the neighbor next door was an illustrator and her brother had abandoned her, so she resolved to get better, and the fruit now paid off. Izumi finally reveals the reason, and the other criticizes him for having so little faith in his sister. After she reads out the manuscript, she realizes it's kind of a love letter and responds that she is in love with someone. Even though he knew such a day would come when she would be attracted to someone else, he still accepted it. Afterward, he reveals his goal of becoming popular and eating all the cake he wants, together with his sister. Sajiri is also motivated to aid him in accomplishing this. Sajiri is still embarrassed about reading the manuscript, and Izumi wants another favor from her as he wants her to help him with a project proposal. After repeatedly being annoyed by Yamada, he puts his phone away and starts explaining the project to her. During their conversation, Sajiri brings up her love for him, and he responds that he is already in love with her at first sight, but it's more like a brotherly affection. The other is unsure how to respond to his confession and comes to various conclusions. Suddenly, Yamada starts throwing arrows at their window and forces him to come to help her. After bringing her over to his house, the other reveals that her editor wants her to submit her work soon, and she doesn't have the motivation to finish it. In exchange for sheltering her, Izumi wants her help with the project proposal, and the other doesn't feel like she is up to the task. Yamada is eager to meet Sajiri, Iromanga-sensei, in person, but the other isn't extroverted and the two get to talk through Skype. As they are talking, Izumi heads outside to put the trash away, and upon returning, he finds Sajiri demanding Yamada to show her panties, and the other happily obliges. Afterward, her editorial team finds her out, and Izumi lets them in to take her away. Later, Sajiri shows him the illustrations she had created of the heroine in his story, and he tasks her with making more of them. While he is busy with work, Sajiri informs him that she cannot draw without knowing about various chest sizes and colorful panties. Izumi has someone in mind for this person, and just then, he receives a call from Megumi, who is envious that Yamada became Sajiri's friend ahead of her. She wants to meet up with Izumi to discuss her plans of getting close to his sister, and the two head to the bookstore. Megumi starts referring to light novels as otaku filth, and Tomo is furious that someone could dare to use this language before her. She almost gets into a fight with her, but Izumi is there luckily and calms her down. Since Megumi isn't familiar with light novels, she decides to torture her by giving some unfinished volumes, the majority of them written by Izumi, and wants to see her craving more soon. With light novels in hand, Megumi feels she will get closer to Sajiri by liking the same things as her. Just as he expected, Izumi gets a call from her the following morning, and the other reveals her dismay at the unfinished story. Since she wants to read more and more, he invites her over to his house so she can borrow some volumes from his sister. After informing Sajiri about this, she feels distressed as it is not easy for her to suddenly meet an outsider. However, she does implement a condition that Megumi will have to agree to become a model for her designs. After she arrives, he puts a blindfold on her and immobilizes her so she can't move much when meeting Sajiri. Taking advantage of the situation, Sajiri takes out multiple pictures from various angles for her art, and eventually even removes her panties. The other is embarrassed, but Izumi points out that she was enjoying it. Afterward, Megumi believes that since the other took her panties, the two are now friends, forcing Sajiri to accept her as a friend. As a token of their friendship, and for being her design model, Sajiri gives her some of her favorite novels so she wouldn't get bored alone at home. The following day, Izumi meets up with his editor, but the other turns him down as another aspiring writer has made her debut. After informing Sajiri of this, she is keen on helping her brother and even wants to earn some money off her lewd art to support the two of them. However, he isn't so shameful as to force his sister to earn money off the internet at this age and promises to resolve things soon. Yamada overhears their conversation and offers help by taking him to meet up with her brother, who is also her editor-in-chief. Unfortunately, he isn't around, and after hanging out, the two eventually visit IM to discuss his future. Outside of the building, the two run into a newbie writer, and while Yamada tries to intimidate with her status, Izumi feels the potential in her. IM doesn't have time for Izumi's non-interesting projects and informs him about a competition later that year. 5 authors will enter this competition and the winner will get to have their work published. Izumi is looking forward to this as he believes he can ace it. But the other girl, Muramasa Senju, the new famous writer in the town, warns him to not get ahead of himself as she will crush him down. Muramasa makes fun of his stories as she believes he doesn't have writing capabilities and should quit. Being mocked for his dream, Izumi swears to beat her in the competition while the other continuously find a way to criticize him. To piss him off further, she reveals that she was the one who made IM reject his project proposal and his slot was all open to her. Now that he is at the end of the rope, Izumi resolves to protect his pride and save his place in the company. Yamada tries to protect his honor, but the other just makes her embarrassed too as Muramasa's light novel is much more popular than hers. Later, while the two are planning to come up with ideas to beat her, Sajiri asks her brother to come and see her. She isn't happy about him going out with another girl, as she saw the picture Yamada uploaded, and forbids him from any sort of date for the rest of his life. Afterward, he explains the whole situation to her, and Sajiri immediately sees Muramasa as their enemy. She encourages her brother to try his best and knock out the villain. Yamada enters the room, prompting her to hide in her blanket, and she promises Izumi to help him out with short stories. Over the next few days, Izumi writes various stories, including one on Yamada, and he is finally able to come up with a decent one that could supposedly match Muramasa's. Suddenly, they have a visitor, and as he checks them out, he finds none other than Muramasa, who is here to make him surrender and become her slave. She quickly clears out the confusion and explains that she wants him to become her novelist and stop writing for himself. She continues explaining how much he can gain from this, but the other has a dream too. When they inquire about her dream, she reveals that she doesn't really have a goal, and just goes wherever the flow takes her. The reason she slammed down his previous work was that she was such a huge fan of his previous series that she was enraged when he didn't release the sequel and went with another story. Izumi is almost convinced by her, but Sajiri steps in, much to their astonishment. She doesn't want her brother to give up after coming thus far and believes that the two of them can still beat her. After turning her down, she warns him that his next series will be interesting. After practicing for a while, Izumi finally submitted his manuscripts for the competition. Before the result is announced, Izumi recalls having met Muramasa a few days earlier, and remembers her writing her manuscript based on their life. She confessed her love to him, but he has someone else in her heart, and doesn't feel he has anything for her. When the results are announced, he is amazed to have taken the top spot away from Muramasa. Apparently, the other submitted way more material than necessary, leading to her disqualification. Yamada congratulates the siblings on their success, and he heads to Sajiri's room to inform her about the pleasant surprise. Izumi finds his sister wearing a yukata, so he asks whether she would be interested in attending the fireworks. However, going out is too much for her, and Sajiri wants to enjoy it in her room. After she complains her brother has started going out with Muramasa, he assures her that he turned her down and that there is only her in his heart. She is flustered, and from too much embarrassment tells him to get away from her room. The following morning, he informs her about his work, and since he won't be free for the next 2 days, he decides to stay the night at the office. While he is doing his work, Sajiri does the home chores for the first time but is unexpectedly met with a visitor who has a package for Izumi. After his work, Izumi meets up with Yamada, and she informs him about the warp party she is planning with another writer, who also took part in the competition. Since their places are all crowded, they decide to host a party at Izumi's place. Later, he calls Ayame as Muramasa is there by her side. Izumi doesn't know whether she will attend but still believes he should invite her. Muramasa doesn't care about being turned down and resolves to shoot an arrow at his soul once more. As the promised day arrives, everyone heads to his home, and Izumi finds himself struggling as Muramasa and Yamada are fighting about who should accompany Izumi. Sajiri attends through Skype as she is too nervous to meet the new face. Funamitsu, the new author, is astonished that Izumi has such a close relationship with Iromanga sensei, and wonders whether he is into boys. He doesn't know Sajiri is a girl. After they are done with the event, Izumi and Sajiri enjoy some peace, and the former reveals how grateful he is for her presence. Sajiri equally feels the same, as he was the one who helped her come out of her room. The group decides to head to a faraway island to celebrate their vacation. Muramasa wears an outfit to Izumi's liking, so he falls in love with her, while Yamada introduces them to her brother, Chris, who is also her editor-in-chief. As they arrive at the island, the group heads to the restaurant Yamada has already booked, and they all decide on sharing the rooms. Funamitsu still has the wrong idea about Izumi and Iromanga sensei's relationship and wants to avoid sharing the room with him, as he feels Izumi is into boys. Later, while Muramasa is stuck inside with nothing but a swimsuit in her hands, Yamada takes the chance to get closer to Izumi. While Chris watches, she instructs the other to massage her back. She plans on making him teach swimming to her but is shocked to find her plan ruined as the other doesn't know it either. Muramasa arrives promptly, embarrassed while wearing the swimsuit. As she is uncomfortable, Izumi gives her his shirt, and the three chat briefly before heading to their rooms. Before heading to bathe, Izumi calls his sister and informs her about all sorts of things. Afterward, he encounters Chris in the bath, and he wants him to marry his younger sister. Funamitsu enters, only to hear marriage and weird ideas start floating in his mind. Chris wants Izumi to marry his sister, and while the latter does think she is a wonderful girl, he has no choice but to turn it down as he has someone else. Yamada overhears it and is embarrassed at being turned down like that, though still not directly as she didn't propose. Later, she takes him to a forest to tell him how her parents met there. Izumi realizes her feelings but isn't sure whether he is in love with her. Yamada doesn't want his answer now as she believes she will make her place inside his heart, and informs him about her real name, Emily. As Izumi gets out of his room to take a fresh breath, he finds Muramasa reading his novel. The other is amazed at his writing and just loves him more and more with each moment. Much to her amazement, Izumi assures her that he would write and send her an after-story to the Silver Wolf of Reincarnation series, which she finds quite intriguing and poignant. The following morning, he finds Yamada at his bedside, and she wants to remember that last night indeed was real. Izumi jokes around by calling it a dream, enraging the other for undermining her hard work on such a proposal. Later, while they are working, Yamada decides to trick her brother into leaving and takes advantage of the opportunity to play games without her brother's continuous supervision. Funamitsu immediately runs away knowing the reward is getting close to Izumi, someone he wants to evade due to various reasons. On the other hand, the females have to reveal their secrets, and after Muramasa loses her round, Sajiri wants to know the color of her panties. However, when they find out that isn't wearing anything down below, she immediately quits in embarrassment. During the trip, Muramasa feels humiliated by publicly declaring her love for Masamune and later proclaims that she will no longer create stories since she has accomplished her desire to read a narrative that she can award 1,000,000 out of 100, which is Izumi's books. Funamitsu still isn't assured that such an amazing writer isn't planning on continuing her work, and asks once again later. However, she is bent on stopping her work. Afterward, Izumi shows Muramasa one of the most recent fan letters sent by a middle school girl called Hana Yumizono. He informs her that the girl's letters were usually quite impassioned and that they greatly encouraged him. Izumi then shows that Muramasa was the one behind all those letters by matching up their handwriting, which she verifies, and says that while her present wish has been realized, she should continue to write in order to complete future aspirations she has. Muramasa reconsiders and determines that her next goal will be to begin a relationship with Izumi. As her brother is about to return, Sajiri practices greeting to welcome him, but realizes that it is too much for her to handle yet. As Izumi returns from his trip, he informs his sister all about the beach trip and finds out that his sister is already wearing a swimsuit. A bookstore in Akira has decided to hold a Izumi Masamune fair, and he chooses to travel there to see the presentation of his and Sajiri's new work while communicating with her via VoIP. During the journey, they both reflect on their history. Izumi recalls how, following his mother's death, He created his first novel and uploaded it online to keep himself occupied. At the time, Sajiri, a 7-year-old enthusiast of his art, presented him with images for the series while keeping her name hidden from him. Since Izumi was too little to practice being an author, he had to get his father's help in printing the manuscripts and everything. On the other hand, Sajiri wasn't initially interested in asking her mother for help, another illustrator. However, after their encounter pushed each other to pursue professions as writers and illustrators, and Sajiri chose to stop talking to him and focus on her work, she headed off to ask her mother to teach her about various proportions. Izumi is concerned about the book's reception when he arrives in Akihabara, but he is reassured when a group of Oremo characters walks by while praising it. Izumi is astonished to find Sajiri out of her room when she returns home, and she explains that she is training herself to ultimately be able to leave home. The two then reconfirm their commitment to moving forward and making their aspirations a reality together. On a stream, Sajiri announces she will continue doing work with Izumi as he writes the new book and assures all of her fans that it will be interesting. Later, Izumi enters her room and asks a favor about head patting her. Since nothing is coming up in his mind about a cute younger sister, he feels that getting close to her and getting a cute reaction out of her will make a do. The other is horrified at having such a brother but still agrees to it, only to immediately kick him out after the other shows too much enthusiasm. Afterward, she informs him about the festival she is holding at home and has invited Muramasa and Yamada. As the other two arrive, Sajiri immediately wants to take advantage of their mildly mature bodies and forces them to try out weird poses for her art. Suddenly, she hears someone talking to Izumi and she heads downstairs. She finds Tomo handing him a doujin. After the other leaves, Sajiri demands to have a look at the doujin while her brother tries to take it away from her as he believes it will flood her mind with sexual ideas. The same thing happens as she gets her hands on it, and she immediately starts drawing a doujin. After she is finished, she shows it to them to get feedback. While Izumi wants to point out the mistakes, he isn't brave enough to say them out loud, and that leads to more confusion, as they all try to remove his underwear to get the exact idea about a guy's anatomy. He promptly calls Megumi to explain it to them as she is the only one shameless enough to do so. After the other lectures them on it, Muramasa draws a perfect one for them, making the other realize how much she knows about guys and her maturity. As the two are about to leave, Sajiri forces herself to leave her comfort zone to say her goodbyes, though she still can't leave the house. Do you think Sajiri will overcome her social anxiety? Let us know in the comments. For now, leave us a like and subscribe to our channel for more content.